If you've spent any time looking for self-improvement advice recently, you've probably encountered a very popular rule for life. Focus only on what you can control and ignore what you can't. This graphic illustrates how we usually interpret that advice today. We assume there's a sliding scale. Sure, you might not have total control over the economy, but you have partial control over your career through hard work. You can't control your genetics, but you assume you can control your health by going to the gym. But the ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus argued that this middle ground is a trap. If you believe you have even a fraction of control over external outcomes, you are tying your peace of mind to things that are inherently fragile. Think about the entrepreneur who grinds for years, only to watch their business evaporate overnight during a sudden market crash. Or the marathon runner who eats perfectly, but is sidelined by a random autoimmune disease. Holding on to the belief that you can steer these outcomes doesn't empower you. It keeps you perpetually anxious, secretly enslaved to the very external circumstances you're trying so hard to master. When Epictetus laid out his philosophy, he drew a strict line. The only things truly in our power are our opinions, pursuits, desires, and aversions. Everything else goes in the other bucket. Your body, property, reputation, and status, none of these belong to you. Underneath this strict divide is a single psychological concept, prohairesis. It translates roughly to our faculty of choice, or our moral purpose. This diagram shows how prohairesis functions as an impenetrable cognitive filter. An external event happens. Someone insults you, or you lose your job. That event sits outside your control. But before it becomes your emotional reaction, it must pass through your faculty of choice. True control, therefore, is isolated completely inside your own mind's evaluation of the world. You possess a ruling rational faculty that, by its very nature, cannot be hindered or enslaved by anyone else. But if the outside world, and even our own bodies, are totally out of our hands, what are we supposed to do? Does this philosophy demand we become totally detached, stop trying, and just stare at a wall? Not at all. Epictetus answered this by comparing life to an ancient ball game. The ball represents external things, like wealth or status. These indifferents have no intrinsic value, and whether the ball drops is out of your hands. But the game is about how you play. Your strategy and grace are entirely up to your prohairesis. By separating the material reality of life from our mental use of that material, we get a practical roadmap for living. You can hustle for a promotion, care for your family, and participate passionately in the world without being mentally destroyed if you face a loss. To see how this applies to a frustrating everyday scenario, Epictetus gives us the famous example of a trip to the local bathhouse. If you go to bathe, picture what actually happens there. People splash, push, use abusive language, and steal. The shift happens beforehand. You remind yourself, I want to bathe, but I also want to keep my mind in a state conformable to nature. By expecting the chaos, you stop viewing minor annoyances as personal insults. Instead, the loud, messy outside world simply becomes a daily practice gym for strengthening your own character. Implementing this requires a radical shift in how you view your own identity. You have to stop defining yourself by your flesh and hair, your bank account, or your job title. You are your prohairesis. Your true self is nothing more and nothing less than your internal capacity for rational choice. True power isn't forcing the universe to bend to your wishes. It's actively wishing that things happen exactly as they do happen. When you completely surrender the illusion of control over the external world, you remove the only leverage the world has over you. No one can compel you, no circumstance can hinder you, and no event can harm you. You are finally completely free.